grace, how sweet the sound.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
Please, Emmanuel Church, there's plenty of people shot down here. Please send somebody right away.
A peaceful Bible study at a South Carolina church disrupted.
Yeah, he shot the pastor. He shot all the men in the church. Please come right away.
77 shots. It actually sounded like a transformer blade.
He's coming, he's coming, he's coming.
9 black parishioners killed by a white supremacist.
Is there something that you can hide under?
I'm under the table.
I kept praying under the table. The Lord kept me calm.
The gunman arrested in North Carolina 14 hours later.
It's just like I was staring Satan in his face.
Tonight, 10 years later, we're honoring the lives lost.
Looking at the changes that transpired.
Man, that could have been any of us.
The work that still needs to be done.
I feel like the people of South Carolina have failed his legacy.
And the forgiveness that's helped the community heal.
The Charleston church shooting 10 years later in this special edition of On Your Side Tonight.
Reverend Clemente Pinckney, Cynthia Graham Hurd, Tywanza Sanders, Mira Thompson, Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Reverend Daniel L. Simmons, Ethel Lance, Reverend DePayne Middleton Doctor, and Susie Jackson. 9 mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters. 9 friends, 9 souls, the Emmanuel 9. Thanks for joining us. 10 years ago tonight, the worst kind of news was about to break. 9 people, you just saw their faces, would be shot and killed at Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, the oldest African Methodist Episcopal church in the South. It was June 17, 2015. Dylan Roof was welcomed into the church where Bible study was underway. He sat there for an hour before carrying out his hate-fueled, racially motivated attack. Some survived only because they pretended to be dead in a place where they were supposed to feel safe.
I never thought that in my wildest nightmare that I would lose my child, my friends at Bible study. That's the part that I can't get past.
Roof would be captured in Shelby. We'll have more on his arrest later on tonight, but we start by honoring those lives lost and the loved ones they left behind who are keeping their legacies alive. While time has passed, one thing does remain: the pain of losing a loved one. And while the shooting happened 209 miles away from Charlotte, it still hits close to home no matter where you are. WBTV's Dedrick Russell spoke to relatives who have a Charlotte connection about how they're doing 10 years later and how they're turning pain into action.
Every breath I take.
The chaplain.
She's with me.
The journalist.
My mom never limited me.
And the politician.
Oh, I miss my sister.
All 3 touched by that horrific mass shooting at Mother Emanuel 10 years ago.
In memory.
Sharon Risher now lives in Charlotte. Her mother was Ethel Lee Lance.
She was very strict. She didn't take excuses.
She really just kind of encouraged me.
Grayson Doctor's mother was Reverend DePayne Middleton. Doctor is now an executive producer at a Florida public radio station.
We had a shared love of NPR, and so we spend a lot of those times also just listening to talk radio, talking about the stories that was going on, you know, sharing our thoughts. It's really those moments that shape me into being the storyteller that I am today.
Malcolm Graham is a Charlotte City councilman, a former state representative. He also ran for Congress. His sister, Cynthia Graham Hurd, helped with his campaigns.
Cynthia would say that you're the most famous person in the family because I had a measure of success. But in her death, she's the most famous person in the family.
Graham still has boxes full of cards, pictures, and letters he received.
Dear Malcolm, Kim, we are so very sorry for your loss.
10 years later, the pain is still felt for all 3.
She just went to the ends of the earth for us. If we were facing any kind of trouble in school, my mom was there to fight our battles.
Her smile, her calling you 6 o'clock in the morning on your birthday.
All three graduated from Johnson C. Smith University at different times. Doctor returned to campus just weeks after her mom was killed to finish out her senior year.
My school family for sure circled around me, and they took care of me that year in more ways than one.
The Charlotte community has been simply amazing. Someone always stops me and says, hey, I'm still praying for you. I'm still thinking about your family.
10 years later, I asked all three about forgiving the murderer.
You always constantly hear it's like you have to forgive this person in order for you to really, experience your true healing. And I don't believe that. I don't think about forgiving him.
I'm not going to forgive someone who's interested in extinguishing people that looks like me. That's unforgivable to me.
I did that 8 years ago, but that was a journey.
These relatives all agree they don't want their loved ones to die in vain. That's why they will continue to push for change, look out for others, and demand tighter gun laws.
If we don't find a way to all work together to respect each and everyone's humanity, then our country's in peril.
My mom was such a strong woman. I want to continue to be that. I want to, she was known in the community for helping other people, for praying for other people.
10 years. These are the issues that keep me going, keep me out there advocating for the Emanuel 9, but for anybody else that comes after them.
Dedrick Russell, WBTV, on your side.
This is a night to first and foremost remember the 9 lives taken, but it's also a night to remind ourselves of the lessons learned and the hopes still unfulfilled, and we're going to do that tonight. With the loss of Reverend Pinckney 10 years ago, Mother Emanuel needed a new senior pastor, someone to guide a congregation and help heal a community. The job fell to Reverend Eric Manning.
Like so many, they remember, and I remember where I was when I got the news.
Eric Manning was 60 miles away from Mother Emanuel when those shots rang out. He was pastor of the AME Church in Georgetown.
And I said, it's impossible. I would have known that fake news kind of thing.
As we all now know, it wasn't. And within a year, he was called on to lead the church that had suffered the unimaginable.
How difficult was that for you? I imagine it just required a lot of listening to that congregation.
I shared with them from Psalm 23. I openly confess I don't know how to lead the congregation, but I do know that God knows how to lead us, and I will listen and I will be here to serve.
Serving a congregation now carrying a decade of grief.
Does the 10th feel any different than the previous 9?
Wow. That's a great question, and I think realistically it doesn't necessarily get any easier. 10 anniversaries, 10 Christmases, 10 birthdays, a decade of a testimony of an empty seat. I don't believe it gets any easier, but as I share with others, I believe we get stronger. We're able to continue to reflect, not necessarily in a way that will bring us pain, but in a way that will bring us strength and resilience.
Not easy when your safest of places, your church, has been attacked in the most awful way possible.
This is a refuge for people to go to. To have it attacked in this sort of way, how does one ever feel safe again?
Continue to be vigilant. Yes, our doors are locked. Yes, we have cameras. Yes, we have security. Who's coming in? What are they carrying? What are they wearing? You get to the point where it becomes second nature. And my task, again, as a pastor, is just to make sure that our focus stays on worship.
On faith, something that has never wavered at Mother Emanuel.
No one ever thought that they would meet hate with so much grace and love. How can you do that, right? Learning how to forgive in the face of so much atrocities. That is, of course, a very strong biblical Christian truth that we always try to embrace. families, and the families demonstrated it so well.
As time moves along, are you worried people are forgetting these lessons?
I do realize, and that is something we have to be honest about, right, through the process of time. But here at Mother Emanuel, we will continue to remember, and we will never forget the 9 precious lives that were taken because of an act of hate. We must remember.
The Reverend Eric Manning. Now, one of Reverend Manning's primary focuses over the last 10 years has been building a memorial at Mother Emanuel to honor those victims. It includes a courtyard with fellowship benches meant to reflect on the lives lost that night. It's expected to open early next year. Second phase of the project is a survivor's garden, symbolizing resiliency to anyone going through difficult times. In the 10 years since the Mother Emanuel shooting, there have been 9 church shootings, 43 lives lost. So how have churches changed security to make sure they don't become the next victim? Our Kim Anderson visited Little Rock AME Zion here in Charlotte with a security expert to see what measures are in place to safeguard parishioners and what changes need to be made to possibly save lives.
Little Rock AME Zion. This more than 140-year-old historic church sits in the First Ward in Uptown Charlotte, where more than 130,000 people pass on a daily basis. With such high traffic, ensuring everyone who steps foot into its doors is safe is a top priority.
We actually just had a recent board meeting with my trustees, and we were talking about that. We were going over our security protocols, just making sure that we still are doing what we need to do, or our due diligence to make sure that we keep our parishioners safe.
Reverend Dr. Darrell Blue is pastor of Little Rock AME Zion Church. His focus? Making sure his church shows love through the gospel and keeping everyone out of danger while inside his church walls.
We have looked at our security cameras. We have a no book bag policy.
There is a security team,
yes.
And they're working during the service.
So the entire service, we have people that are out in the perimeter and also out in the foyer and in the sanctuary.
We brought in a security expert to see just how safe the church is against those who may view them as a sitting target.
It's called Faith Secure, and it's a total program for upgrading the security posture of your church.
Dr. Michael Brown, president of MDB Consulting Agency, is a Homeland Security specialist with more than 20 years of law enforcement experience. His specialty, church security, traveling across the country helping many churches that feel vulnerable.
Tell me what you saw, the changes that need to be made.
Well, the first thing that I noticed was there were no dedicated video surveillance cameras.
Dr. Brown walked through the church with Pastor Blue, showing him how to make his church more secure.
Is there like a radio system where the security team is able to talk to each other?
I know at times we have had that. That's something that we are in the process of getting.
Because that's critical.
Yes.
Because especially when patrol can talk to the lobby and vice versa.
There are several other security measures Dr. Brown found the church could tighten up. He says the key to keeping churches safe is awareness, knowing that even the house of God, unfortunately, isn't immune to those determined to commit violent acts.
I've thought about how many times people have just walked into my Bible study that I didn't know. And I'm like, man, that could have been any of us.
Kim Anderson reporting. We're going to have more information on checking your church for security. It's on our website. Just head to WBTV.com. Coming up next here on Your Side Tonight. In the past 10 years, a lot has changed, but many argue there is a lot more work to do. A South Carolina lawmaker's fight to honor the lives lost. Welcome back to this special edition of On Your Side Tonight. A lot has changed since that awful night 10 years ago. One includes the removal of the Confederate flag from the South Carolina State House grounds. Dylan Roof, the shooter and a self-proclaimed white supremacist, was photographed with the flag, and calls began to remove it out of respect to the victims' families.
We don't see black or white. We just see that the flag is no longer about heritage. It's about hate.
Those calls echoed by former President Barack Obama and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who had supported the flag but changed her perspective after the shooting.
It would not be an insult to the valor of Confederate soldiers. It would simply be an acknowledgement that the cause for which they fought the cause of slavery was wrong.
For many people in our state, the flag stands for traditions that are noble. Traditions of history, of heritage, and of ancestry. The hate-filled murderer who massacred our brothers and sisters in Charleston has a sick and twisted view of the flag. In no way does he reflect the people in our state who respect and in many ways revere it.
We did reach out to former Governor Haley to ask for her reflection on the shooting 10 years later. She declined to comment. But on July 9th, 2015, South Carolina lawmakers voted to take down the Confederate flag from the State House. It was officially removed the next day. That move sparking change across the country, with other states removing the flag or Confederate memorials from their State House grounds and their state symbols. Now, while a lot has changed, some argue South Carolina still has a ways to go. One of the victims of the Charleston shooting was State Senator and Pastor Clemente Pinckney. He was the youngest person elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives in 1996. He was just 23 years old. He would move on to the Senate in 2000. 10 years after his murder, we are talking to the person who took his seat. Her name is Senator Margie Bright Matthews. She tells WBTV's Dedrick Russell for the past 10 years she has been doing her best to honor the life and work of Senator Clemente Pinckney.
It was June 17, 2015, when Margie Bright Matthews was in Charleston taking her daughter home from volleyball practice.
It just seemed eerily quiet.
That quiet turned into seeing evidence of trouble.
We're talking fire, rescue, everybody. You could just see them going.
She soon discovered the first responders were heading to Mother Emanuel Church.
I was so stunned for probably 5 days.
State Senator Clemente Pinckney was Matthews' state representative. The deaths impacted Matthews so much so, she says right before Pinckney's funeral,
something just said to me around 2 o'clock in the morning that you have to run. I would say it's an omniscient being and something from within, knowing that I had what it took to do this job and to carry on Senator Pinckney's mission.
She says carrying out that mission has not been easy. She thought by now the Senator Clemente Pinckney hate crime bill would have become law. It passed the House, but it is stalled in the Senate.
To allow this bill to sit and languish year after year after year since 1994, to allow it to languish means you're okay with those that hate others and commit crimes.
Another bill in limbo, the Charleston loophole. A closed Charleston loophole would prevent people from getting their hands on guns with incomplete background checks. That's why the killer was able to buy his gun in South Carolina with a criminal record.
I think there's a belief in this state that the flag got removed. We're not doing anything else. We're going to protect our rights to guns.
The legislature picks back up in January, and so does Matthews' focus.
10 years later, I feel like in some regards I've failed him. I feel like the people of South Carolina have failed his legacy. But I have a commitment to keep fighting.
Dedrick Russell tonight. Now, we did reach out to multiple South Carolina state lawmakers about this issue, why that hate crimes law has not been able to pass over the years. So far, we have not heard back. Coming up next here on Your Side tonight, the power of forgiveness. Days after the shooting, families of the victims found it in their hearts to forgive the shooter. Why worshipers say that's such an important part of faith. Welcome back to On Your Side tonight. 14 hours after Dylan Roof walked into Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, he was arrested 250 miles away in North Carolina, in Shelby. He was initially spotted by a woman who was on her way to work. Police were quickly notified, and Sergeant Dan Burnant, Sergeant Mike Myers, and Officer Scott Hamrick quickly apprehended him. They've been called heroes, but in an exclusive interview with WBTV, all humbly said they don't want that title.
We don't look for publicity. The true spotlight of what happened was in Charleston.
We only had a small part. I am definitely not a hero. We're just out doing what we would do any other day.
Roof was eventually tried and sentenced to death. But just 2 days after the shooting, many of the families found it in their hearts to forgive him.
Hurts me. You hurt a lot of people. But God forgive you.
I forgive you. Natisha Lance spoke to members of Little Rock AME Zion here in Charlotte to find out what it is about their faith that could give them the power to forgive those terrible acts.
There's an unspoken expectation for safety inside the walls of a church, where love and peace flow in abundance. It's also where we can learn to be the best version of ourselves, kind, accepting, and forgiving, even under the worst circumstances.
You know, he took 9 lives, and thought maybe he took more.
AME Church Zion Bishop Dwayne Anthony Walker says the pain of the mass shooting at Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston still feels fresh.
I was horrified, just the notion of someone walking into a Bible study class, which we welcome, and all of a sudden that person stands up and just begins to shoot.
The shooter shot 12 people, killing 9.
Just 2 days later, the victims' families had to face the shooter in court, where something remarkable happened.
But I forgive you.
But may God have mercy on you.
Somehow, through their anguish, they were able to find it in their hearts to forgive him.
Although my grandfather and the other victims died at the hands of hate, this is proof. Everyone's plea for your soul is proof that they lived in love, and their legacies will live in love.
At the time, many wondered how those families who lost so much found the power to give such amazing grace. Carl Daniel and Reverend Belinda Austin are members of Little Rock AME Zion Church. They remember the church shooting from 10 years ago, but they never watched that court hearing. We showed it to them for the first time.
Essential as Christians that we do forgive. Not saying that it's easy. It's not easy. It's hard, especially when something so horrific has been done to you and such pain has been experienced.
The shooter was sentenced to the death penalty. It's a punishment Bishop Walker has not always agreed with. But in this case, he believes justice was served.
It doesn't mean that I don't believe that you should suffer the consequences of your actions. But as far as you and I are concerned, I have to be at peace with myself. And so therefore, I've got to be at peace with God. And my peace with God requires I forgive you.
What can we learn from this?
There's so much going on in the world today, in the U.S. today, in the world today. And we all need to practice forgiveness.
I think we need more love. We are all brothers and sisters. So more love. Out of that love comes the ability to forgive others for the wrong.
Natisha Lance, WBTV, on your side.
Natisha, thank you. Before we go, we leave you with this message from the late Reverend Clemente Pinckney from a sermon he gave in 2013.
Could we not argue that America is about freedom, whether we live it out or not? But it really is about freedom, equality, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's what church is all about.
May we never forget the Emmanuel 9. On Your Side Tonight returns tomorrow night at 7. Thanks for being here. Good night.
How sweet.